across the bay and thought of you and your smile.
Hey guys, I'm Ming. I'm a video producer for Rode Microphones.
And I'm Clinton Hahn, video producer for Rode Microphones as well.
And I'm Ryan Burke, audio producer for Rode Microphones. Now, this particular shoot is actually the debut of the new Rode NTR ribbon microphone. So first and foremost, this was a shoot about showcasing the ribbon mic and getting a really beautiful, clean recording. It was a simple setup. We had Katie Noonan, who's just an absolutely wonderful artist, insanely talented. She nailed it in just a couple of takes. We had Katie Noonan playing piano, and we used a simple 3 microphone setup, which was just a vocal mic and then a stereo spaced pair of matched NTR ribbon mics, just to give you a really nice idea of exactly what the ribbon sounds like. Now, on our shoots, one of the big challenges with the audio is that we always want to show the microphones in their raw state. Now, most recordings that you would hear usually would be heavily processed, but what we want to do is always record a really nice clean take with as little or no processing if possible, so that you can actually hear what the microphone sounds like. So as you can see here, we've got a bit of an angle on the vocal mic. There was 2 reasons for that. The first being that we wanted to actually get a nice bit of isolation on the vocal mic. Now, with a ribbon microphone, you've got a bidirectional pickup pattern, meaning that it picks up in the front and the rear of the microphone, and it actually rejects sound all around the sides of the ribbon. So by having that angle that we have on the microphone there, we're rejecting the piano sound as much as possible without affecting the vocal. Now, with the piano microphones, we've got a spaced pair. The idea there was to just have a little nice bit of stereo ambience without it being too hyper stereo, so that you get a realistic representation of the piano. Peter Friedman himself, owner of Rode Microphones, came down to produce this session, and it was his choice of the vocal mic and the piano mic positioning. And we actually spent a fair bit of time just moving the microphones around and getting the perfect position before Katie arrived, just so that it was a more professional setup that she can just come, sit down and perform without having to worry about the technical aspects of the setup or wait for us to get the audio right. So that was the biggest challenge with the audio. I think the result speaks for itself. The NTR is an incredible mic. It's an active ribbon, so we didn't have to worry about damaging the ribbon with phantom power. We ran directly into a Neve 88R console, completely dry, so there was no compression and there was no EQ, recorded straight to tape at 96K into Pro Tools.
Tell us a bit about the stereo bar too. It's a prototype.
Yeah, so the stereo bar is actually a custom Rode stereo bar. It's based off the same as the SB 20cm stereo bar, but this one's actually 70 centimeters long. That just enabled us to get the microphones in the exact position that we wanted. It was a slightly wider position than what we could do with the standard stereo bar, so this was a 35 centimeter spaced pair. All right, now we've gone through the specifics on the audio signal chain, but for all the gear nerds out there, can you run us through some specifics on the gear choices for both the lighting and the camera rigs, just so that people can get an idea of what was used on this production?
Yeah, so because it was a live take, we needed to make sure that all the cameras were synced to that one master track. So to ensure that we had enough footage, we ended up placing 8 DSLRs around the room to capture all the different angles and movement that we needed to cut this music video.
Obviously, again, with Katie being the talent that she is, we certainly didn't want to inconvenience her. The other thing also was a challenge for us was lighting the space, the product, how we're going to light her, and how we're going to basically light the room.
Yeah, because the mic is such a dark product, we had to make sure that the background that it was sitting on was nice and light to have enough contrast.
Yeah, exactly. So, there was no hard and fast rule. Some people will say, well, you need to checkerboard certain things, or that area might be too bright and that area might be too dark. Initially, I think we had a couple of treatments. We thought we could either use a color palette or color wash in the background, but we decided to stay with a very simple color temperature and then light around that. So that we could, like you said, separate the mic itself and also highlight Katie's face and her features as well.
Yeah, so for the majority of this shoot, we used a set of Carl Zeiss lenses and then a couple of Canon L series lenses as well. So here on the portrait lens, we've got the 70-200. It's got great image stabilization, just to be able to float around and to follow Katie, because she's very emotive with her singing. That was important.
And we had the 24-70 on the BTS cam for Scott. He also doubled up as another operator which was quite convenient. As far as the setup of the lenses were concerned, we made a conscious effort to shoot wide open at one focal length, but the rest we decided that we were going to try and shoot above 2.8. Part of the reason is because sometimes lenses are prone to chromatic aberrations or color aberrations, which is not really nice wide opens. And also a particular lens does have a sweet spot at a certain f-stop as well.
And I guess one of the challenges that you would have had is keeping both the mic and Katie in focus on some of those longer shots, where if you went too shallow, you'd have to make a decision between the two, wouldn't you?
There's always a trade-off. When you're shooting wide open, your focal distance is like wafer thin, so you have to keep that in mind. And particularly when you're having moving shots as well, or dynamic movement, you have to make sure that you don't want to shoot too wide open because you're going to lose focus. Certain lenses have a sweet spot. For example, the 28mm Zeiss ZE and ZF, sweet spots are generally around f4, I find.
Given the sensitivity of the microphone and how hard it is for 6 people to keep completely still for any amount of time in the same space, we actually had to kick basically everyone out of the room except for 3 people, right, other than Katie herself.
Yeah, it was important to limit the amount of operators and hence the amount of, I guess, movement in the room. So a lot of us were multitasking, keeping an eye on ISO cams as well as some of the motion shots. Clinton was on a jib and a slider at the same time, which is quite impressive. I was manning the 7200 and an ISO shot. And Goodsy was on the floor looking after slider and a shot over his shoulder as well. So
Yeah. So we had a director's monitor at the same time so that the marketing department could keep an eye on exactly what it all looked like, right?
Yes, we certainly did. We had a small HD AC7 mounted in a Zacuto Swiss cage, and also we were using the Paralinx Aero Plus, basically one transmitter and one receiver pack, and that I was able to then hand over to you guys in the control room to basically have a look and see whether or not it was a yay or nay.
Great. I think we've covered just about all bases there. What do you think, guys?
Definitely did. So if any of you guys have any questions, send us an email or send us a Twitter message or anything like that via social media, and we'll endeavor to try and answer any of your questions.
thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next Rode BTS commentary episode.